The world never plays fair. No matter how honest you are, someone will betray you. No matter how skilled you become, someone less qualified will take your place. That's reality. But those who understand this reality, they survive. And those who survive, they rule. This is a power you can't see, but everyone feels it. This is dark intelligence. Dark intelligence is born from betrayal, humiliation, and defeat. Where others break, you build strength from pain. It's the kind of intelligence that listens, watches, stays silent, and strikes at the perfect moment. While others argue, you observe. While they rage, you calculate. While they drown in emotion, you design the future. Most people play checkers. You're about to learn how to play chess. But before we go deeper, let me be clear. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Use it to defend yourself, not to harm the innocent. The goal is to understand the game, not to become the villain. Today you'll uncover the 8 psychological traits that separate survivors from victims, leaders from followers, and winners from losers. Now drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally reactive. Let's begin. 1. Calculated opacity. You're never completely transparent about your intentions. You reveal only what's necessary. When people know half the story, they fill in the blanks with their imagination, and that imagination controls them. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Think of the most intriguing people you know. They never tell you everything. They leave gaps in their stories. They answer questions with questions. They smile when you expect them to explain. This isn't deception. It's strategic communication. Here's what usually happens. Someone asks you a question, and you feel compelled to explain your motives, fears, plans. You think you're building trust, but in truth, you're giving away power. Smart people understand that mystery creates influence. When you don't reveal everything, people grow curious. Curiosity builds interest. Interest breeds respect. And respect becomes influence. For example, if someone asks, "What are your weekend plans?" Most will say, "Oh, just staying home, maybe watching a movie." That's transparency, and it's forgettable. Instead say, "I've got something important to take care of." Then change the subject. See the difference? The first makes you predictable. The second makes you intriguing. This isn't about rudeness or secrecy. It's about selectivity. Reveal what strengthens your position and conceal what weakens it. Your information is your currency. Don't spend it all at once. When you master calculated opacity, your words carry more weight because they're rare. People start paying closer attention because they know you don't speak without purpose. Remember, the goal isn't to be mysterious for mystery's sake. It's to maintain control of your narrative, your image, and your influence. 3. Adaptive persona. You're not the same person with everyone. You adjust your energy, your tone, your presence, depending on who's in front of you. People think they know you, but they only know one version of you. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must take care never to let anything escape his lips that is not filled with mercy, faith, humanity, uprightness, and religion." This isn't about being fake. It's about being effective. You already do this naturally. You speak differently to your grandmother than to your friends. You act differently in a job interview than at a party. Adaptive persona takes that instinct and refines it into power. Every person processes reality differently, some through logic, others through emotion, others through practicality or vision. If you speak the same way to everyone, you'll connect with a few and lose the rest. So study people. Are they analytical? Give them data. Are they emotional? Speak with empathy. Are they practical? Show results. Are they visionaries? Paint a dream. This isn't manipulation. It's communication intelligence. Think of water. It adapts to the shape of its container, yet it never stops being water. That's you. You adjust your form, but never lose your essence. The biggest mistake people make is thinking authenticity means being the same everywhere. It doesn't. True authenticity means being real, but flexible. When you master the adaptive persona, you become a universal connector. People feel seen and understood in your presence because you're speaking their language. This ability is power in negotiation, leadership, and influence. But remember the warning: adapt your style, not your soul. Change your approach, not your principles. The strongest people are like diamonds, many facets, one solid core. 3. The principle of detachment. You are not a slave to any relationship, emotion, or opinion. What you're not afraid to lose cannot control you. What can't bind you can't manipulate you. Machiavelli said, since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. People think it means being cold or heartless. It doesn't. It means being free. Most people are trapped by their attachments. They fear losing their job, so they tolerate disrespect. They fear losing love, so they compromise their values. They fear losing approval, so they betray their truth. Fear of loss makes you weak. Freedom from that fear makes you powerful. Imagine two people negotiating a deal. Person A needs it to work. They've already made plans based on it. Person B wants it to work, but can walk away. Who has more power? Person B. Because detachment creates leverage. It gives you clarity, the ability to see without desperation. When you're not obsessed with being right, you can think clearly. When you're not desperate for approval, you can decide wisely. When you're not afraid of being alone, you can choose better company. Here's the paradox. The less you need something, the more likely you are to get it. They're confident not because everything goes their way, but because they know they'll be fine even when it doesn't. That's the true power of detachment. Now, this doesn't mean being careless or indifferent. You should still work hard for your goals and care deeply for the people in your life. But never be so attached to any outcome that you lose your ability to think clearly or act strategically. Detachment also protects you from manipulation. When someone threatens to take away something you're not afraid to lose, their threat loses all power. The most dangerous person in any room is the one with nothing to lose. But the most powerful person is the one who has everything to gain and nothing to fear. Start small. Practice detachment in everyday situations. Don't cling to winning every argument. Don't crave being liked by everyone. Don't depend on your plans unfolding exactly as you imagined. As you develop this skill, you'll notice something remarkable. People start respecting you more. They sense that you cannot be easily controlled, and that alone commands respect. Remember, detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring without being controlled by that care. 4. Silent leverage. You don't apply pressure directly. You wait. When others make mistakes and become vulnerable, your silent presence becomes the heaviest influence in the room. Machiavelli once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." Most people think power is loud, shouting, demanding, forcing their will. That's amateur hour. Real power whispers. Silent leverage is the art of creating influence without uttering a word. It's about positioning yourself so that your mere presence shifts the dynamic. Here's how it works. Instead of telling people what to do, you create situations where they want to do what benefits you. Instead of demanding respect, you make yourself indispensable. Instead of fighting for power, you make others give it to you, willingly. Let's break this down with examples. In conversation, silent leverage means knowing when to pause. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill it with words, often revealing more than they intend. When you're comfortable with silence, you control the rhythm. Next time someone asks a tough question, don't answer immediately. Pause. Look at them. Let the silence stretch. Then speak. Watch how the weight of your words multiplies. In negotiation, silent leverage means having options, alternatives you never mention. When others sense you have choices, they treat you differently. You don't have to threaten to walk away. Your willingness to walk away is enough. In negotiation, silent leverage means having options, alternatives you never mention. When others sense you have choices, they treat you differently. You don't have to threaten to walk away. Your willingness to walk away is enough. In relationships, silent leverage means adding value without asking for recognition. When you consistently improve people's lives, they naturally want to keep you close. You don't demand loyalty, you earn it through consistent contribution. In your career, silent leverage means becoming the person everyone relies on. You don't announce your importance. You prove it, quietly, repeatedly, until everyone knows. The key to silent leverage is patience. You're not chasing immediate results. You're building long-term influence. Most crave instant gratification. You plant seeds and wait. You invest, then allow time to multiply your results. This requires a higher mindset, one rooted in delayed gratification and quiet certainty. You must trust that your consistent actions will eventually shape the world around you. When you master silent leverage, people begin to seek your counsel without you offering it. They crave your approval without you demanding it. They follow your lead without you asking. You become the quiet force shaping outcomes, unseen but undeniable. But there's an ethical boundary here. Silent leverage should never be used to harm or manipulate. Its highest form is creating mutual benefit. You guide others toward better decisions, for themselves and for everyone involved. Remember, silent leverage isn't passive. You're still moving, still strategizing, just without noise. Subtle, strategic, powerful. 5. Psychological echo. You reflect people's deepest needs and fears back to them. They think you're speaking their language. But what you're really doing is understanding them at a profound level. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand." Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you truly are. Psychological echo is about becoming a mirror, reflecting what people need to see and hear. Not deception, comprehension. People don't buy products, ideas, or even relationships. They buy solutions to pain and fulfillment of desire. When you can identify and echo those needs, your value multiplies. Most fail at this because they're obsessed with being heard instead of hearing. To master psychological echo, you must become a student of human nature. Everyone carries invisible burdens, silent dreams, and secret fears. Your job is to listen for them, the clues hidden between words. When someone talks about work, they're not just describing tasks. They're revealing self-worth, values, and insecurities. When they talk about relationships, they're exposing emotional patterns and unmet needs. Most listen to respond. You must listen to understand. Every person you meet is silently asking 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? When your words and actions answer yes to all 3, you create an unbreakable connection. Psychological echo isn't just repeating what's said. It's reflecting the emotion beneath it, the fear behind it, the need within it. If someone says, "I hate my job," most respond with advice. But a true psychological echo hears deeper. Maybe they feel unseen, under-challenged or stuck. So you say, "It sounds like you're not feeling valued," or "It seems like you're ready for something more challenging." See the difference? You're not solving, you're understanding. That alone builds trust and influence. When you mirror someone's emotional reality, they feel profoundly understood, and that creates loyalty. The secret is to echo the positive potential behind their emotions. If someone feels overwhelmed, reflect their dedication. If they're frustrated, reflect their drive for excellence. People crave validation of their identity. When you give it sincerely and skillfully, you become unforgettable. Because the moment someone feels truly seen, they stop resisting and start listening. You frame your suggestions and requests in ways that naturally resonate with the other person's values. If someone values security, you present your ideas through the lens of safety and stability. If someone values recognition, you present them as opportunities for achievement and acknowledgement. If someone values freedom, you speak in terms of independence and choice. You're not changing your message. You're refining its delivery to match their psychological profile. This ability is transformative in leadership, sales, parenting, and relationships. When people feel truly understood, they naturally want to follow, cooperate, and support you. The ethical way to use psychological echo is to genuinely care, to seek understanding, not manipulation. When your goal is to help others get what they need, this becomes a tool for building deep, authentic connections. 6. Ambiguous morality. You're neither good nor bad. You simply get things done. Real power doesn't live in black or white. It thrives in the gray. Machiavelli once said, "Since it is difficult to unite them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking." This is the most controversial trait of dark intelligence, and the most misunderstood. So let's be clear. Ambiguous morality doesn't mean having no morals. It doesn't mean doing whatever you please without consequence. It doesn't mean harming others to get ahead. It means understanding that the real world is complex, and that moral clarity often collides with reality. Sometimes doing the right thing in the short term creates worse outcomes in the long term. Sometimes being too kind enables harmful behavior. Sometimes protecting others requires making choices that aren't pretty. Pure moral simplicity is a luxury few can afford when faced with real consequences. Let's take a few examples. Imagine you're a leader who discovers that a team member has been deceiving clients and damaging trust. The nice thing to do might be to offer another chance, more training, more patience. But what about the honest team members who uphold integrity? What about the clients who are being misled? What about the long-term survival of the company? Someone with ambiguous morality understands that protecting the many sometimes means being firm with the one. They make the difficult choice not out of cruelty but out of duty. That's pragmatic ethics. Another example, a friend asks for relationship advice. You can see their partner is toxic. The polite thing might be to stay neutral, avoid conflict and be supportive. But the pragmatic thing, the moral thing, might be to tell them a painful truth that could set them free. Ambiguous morality means focusing on outcomes, not appearances. Sometimes actions that look kind create harm. Sometimes actions that look harsh prevent greater suffering. It's a higher form of moral reasoning, asking not, "What makes me look good?" but what action produces the best outcome for the most people? It also means owning your decisions, especially when they're unpopular. But remember, ambiguous morality is not selfishness. You're not doing what benefits you at others' expense. You're making strategic choices that serve the greater good, even when they weigh heavy. It's also about contextual ethics, understanding that morality shifts with circumstance. What's wrong in one situation might be necessary in another. For instance, brutal honesty might be essential in a close friendship, but counterproductive in high-stakes negotiations. A person with ambiguous morality reads the environment, adapts and chooses with precision. Of course, there's danger here. Without boundaries, this principle can become justification for manipulation or cruelty. That's why you must define your non-negotiable values. Where will you draw the line? What principles will you never betray? What outcomes are you willing to take responsibility for? Within those boundaries, give yourself permission to be strategic and pragmatic, even when others don't understand. Remember, the goal isn't to be liked. The goal is to be effective and ethical in a world where simple answers rarely exist. 7. Controlled exposure. You never reveal everything about yourself. The less people know, the more they assume, and their assumptions often play right into your strategy. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much dominated by their immediate needs that a deceitful person will always find those ready to be deceived." In a world where people broadcast their every thought on social media, controlled exposure has become a superpower. When everyone overshares, the one who shares strategically stands apart. When everyone speaks, the one who holds silence becomes mysterious. Controlled exposure is about intention. It's the art of managing what others know about you, not through secrecy, but through precision. Not everyone deserves full access to your inner world. Selective revelation strengthens relationships and amplifies influence. Let's look at the psychology. Humans are wired for curiosity. When faced with something incomplete, the brain rushes to fill the gaps, a phenomenon called the curiosity gap. And curiosity is power. When you share selectively, you create curiosity gaps that draw people in. They lean closer, pay attention, wonder what's behind the curtain. Think of the most captivating people you know. They don't spill their entire life story. They share fragments, just enough to keep you engaged, wanting more. That's not luck. That's strategy. Now let's translate this into practice. In professional settings, controlled exposure means revealing your strengths gradually. You don't showcase every skill on day one. You let your value unfold over time, creating the impression of steady growth, continuous evolution. In social settings, it means sharing personal information slowly, as trust is earned, not assumed. You're not hiding, you're filtering. You reveal layers only when the other person has earned the right to see them. In negotiation, it means keeping certain details in reserve, your priorities, constraints or alternatives, not as deception but as discipline. When you control information, you control the flow of power. The key principle is this: every revelation should be purposeful, either to strengthen trust, create intrigue, or increase leverage. Information revealed can never be unrevealed. Once people know something about you, they can't unknow it. That's why it's always safer to reveal too little than too much. But controlled exposure isn't just about withholding, it's about timing. The same information can have completely different effects depending on when it's shared. For example, revealing a particular skill or achievement early in a relationship might come across as arrogance, but sharing that same information later, when it solves a problem or adds value, makes you seem competent, humble, and reliable. Timing turns information into influence. Controlled exposure also requires understanding your audience. Different people need to know different things about you. Your closest friends and family should know more than casual acquaintances. Your business partners should know different things than your competitors. Your employees should know different things than your peers. This isn't manipulation. It's strategic appropriateness. You're adapting your level of disclosure to match the relationship and the context. Here's another crucial dimension: your digital footprint. Every photo you post, every comment you make, every statement you share becomes part of your permanent record. People form opinions about you based solely on what they see online, often without ever meeting you. The intelligent understand this. They curate their online presence with intention. They know their digital persona is an extension of their strategy, a silent ambassador for how they want to be perceived and remembered. The goal of controlled exposure is not to be mysterious for the sake of mystery. It's to maintain control over your narrative and the way others interpret you. When you share information strategically, you guide perception. You emphasize the aspects of your identity and experience that serve your current mission. You prevent others from defining you by fragments or assumptions. The balance lies here. Share enough to build connection, but not so much that you lose control. The most successful people master this equilibrium. They are open enough to be trusted, but discreet enough to remain powerful. 8. Outcome obsession. You're not here to win arguments or prove points. You're here to achieve results. Those who focus solely on outcomes never waste time on petty games. Machiavelli wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." This is the defining line between amateurs and professionals, dreamers and doers, talkers and achievers. Most people get lost chasing the wrong things. They want to be right more than they want to be effective. They want to look good more than they want to succeed. They want to feel good about their process. Instead of facing whether it's actually working, outcome obsession cuts through the noise. It shifts your entire mindset. Instead of asking, "How can I prove I'm right?" you ask, "What result am I trying to create?" Instead of asking, "How can I look good?" you ask, "What actions will get me the outcome I want?" This shift changes everything. Take arguments, for example. Most people approach them like battles of ego, trying to dominate, outsmart, or humiliate. But the outcome-obsessed person asks, "What do I actually want from this conversation?" Do you want to change the other person's behavior? Reach a compromise? Understand their perspective? Once you know the real objective, you adapt your approach. Sometimes winning the argument helps. Often it doesn't. If your goal is to change someone's mind, proving them wrong will usually backfire. People resist correction, but they embrace realization. Guide them gently to their own conclusion, and you win without conflict. If your goal is to preserve the relationship, being right matters less than keeping trust intact. This principle applies everywhere. In business, outcome obsession means focusing on what truly drives progress, not what inflates your image. You choose projects by impact, not visibility. You make decisions based on data, not ego. In personal growth, it means measuring success by results, not intentions. Effort matters, but only when it moves the needle. Here's where outcome obsession becomes dangerous and brilliant. It exposes busy work for what it is: distraction. Most people confuse motion with progress. They fill their days with activity to feel accomplished, even if it changes nothing. Outcome-obsessed individuals see through that illusion. They constantly ask, is this moving me closer to my goal, or am I just avoiding the hard work that actually matters? This leads to what I call strategic laziness. Outcome-obsessed people often seem to do less than others, but they achieve far more, because they focus only on the 20% of actions that create 80% of results. They're not trying to be the hardest workers in the room. They're trying to be the most effective. This applies to learning too. They don't try to master everything, only what matters most. They ask, what's the minimum I need to learn to achieve maximum results? That's not cutting corners. That's precision focus. But there's a warning. Outcome obsession becomes toxic when you lose your values in the pursuit of results, when you start viewing people as tools instead of allies. The solution? Embed your ethics into your definition of success. Your outcomes should include integrity, respect, and contribution. When those are non-negotiable, outcome obsession transforms from manipulation into mastery. Another key trait: flexibility. Outcome-obsessed people are committed to the goal, not to the method. If one strategy fails, they pivot. If one path collapses, they carve another. They're not married to the plan. They're married to the result. That adaptability makes them unstoppable, because while others cling to failing systems out of pride, outcome-obsessed individuals evolve with purpose. When circumstances change, they adjust. When new data appears, they update their strategy. That's what separates those who talk about success from those who create it. The ultimate goal of outcome obsession is to become someone who gets things done. Not someone who talks about getting things done. Not someone who looks like they're getting things done, but someone who actually produces results in the real world. Over time, this reputation becomes priceless. When people know you as someone who delivers, someone who fulfills promises and achieves goals, the world begins to respond differently. You attract better opportunities, better partnerships, and better problems, the kind only trusted, capable people are invited to solve. You've now learned the 8 traits of dark intelligence. But remember, knowledge without application is worthless. Pick one trait that resonated with you the most. For the next 7 days, practice it consciously, deliberately, in your daily interactions. Don't try to master all 8 at once. Focus on one. Notice how people begin to respond to you differently. Notice how you start to feel when you approach situations with strategic intelligence instead of emotional reactivity. But remember what we said from the beginning. This power comes with responsibility. Use these insights to protect yourself, not to harm others. Use them to create better outcomes for everyone, not just for yourself. The world doesn't need more manipulators. It needs more strategically intelligent people, those who use their awareness ethically, people who can see through deceit and guard themselves and others from it, people who can navigate chaos with clarity and solve problems that others fear to face. That is the true purpose of dark intelligence, not to become a manipulator, but to become someone who cannot be manipulated, not to gain power over others, but to gain power over yourself and your circumstances. The most dangerous person in any room is the one with nothing to lose, but the most valuable person in any room is the one who understands human psychology and uses that understanding to make everyone's life better. So ask yourself, which kind of person will you choose to be? If this video changed the way you think about intelligence and power, hit that like button. If you want more content on psychology, strategy, and human behavior, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment below. Tell me, which of these 8 traits do you see in the most successful people around you? And which one will you practice first? Until next time, remember, true intelligence isn't just about being smart. It's about being wise enough to use your intelligence in service of something greater than yourself. Stay strategic, stay ethical, stay powerful.